Most people approach AI like a search engine. You type in a request, hit enter, and wait. What you get back is almost always the same, a generic wall of text filled with bullet points that no executive actually wants to read. To generate a document that actually drives decisions, we need a specific 5-step engineered prompt sequence designed strictly for high-stakes executive strategy. For this sequence, we only need 2 things to start: your raw research notes and a clear goal. Let's use a common high-pressure scenario. You need to pitch a VP of sales on a $200,000 software investment by the end of the week. Mastering this multi-stage sequence forces the model to weigh competing variables and justify its logic before drafting a single word of the pitch. Step 1 begins by throwing out the instinct to just give a command. Before we ask for any drafting, we have to build a strict structural foundation to fence in the AI's behavior. The very first sentence of your prompt must explicitly define 3 variables: role, exact goal, and strict format. We then define the reader. Explaining software to a non-technical VP of sales forces an immediate shift in vocabulary and tone. Once the foundation is set, we apply negative constraints. Telling the model what not to do before telling it what to do consistently outperforms positive instructions. We use direct commands. Do not use bullet points. Do not hedge with phrases. Give me a direct recommendation. Next, we feed the model our raw notes. To do this accurately, we have to use XML tags to structure the input. Wrapping your documents in these tags is crucial. It tells the system exactly how to separate your active, direct instructions from the passive background reference data. By setting these structural boundaries up front, we ensure the system operates exclusively within our defined professional parameters before it processes a single line of logic. At this point, the common mistake is to hit enter and ask for the final draft all at once. Dumping everything into one massive prompt block leads to messy logic. Instead, we trigger a reasoning phase before any drafting happens. We do this by adding a thinking out loud prefix. You paste in this exact line. Before you answer, think through the key variables, competing considerations, and what information would change your recommendation. Forcing this visible reasoning phase on the screen reduces the chances of the model giving you a confident but entirely incorrect conclusion. Now we can move into staged execution. A high-quality document is never written in a single-shot attempt. Professional engineering splits the work into 4 distinct consecutive stages: analyze, draft, critique, and refine. The reasoning and drafting we just completed only get us to the stage 1 draft. We have to pause here to review the logic before we push the document further. Separating the reasoning phase from the drafting phase ensures the final output is derived from specific evidence rather than statistical patterns. We have our initial draft, but an executive pitch needs to survive actual scrutiny. That means we have to actively challenge the document. We use a Steelman follow-up prompt. You reply and ask the model to give you the strongest possible argument against its own recommendation. Reviewing this adversarial pushback forces you to see the exact vulnerabilities in your core argument before you actually pitch it. With the logic secured, we move to the final polish. This is where you have to stop using the generic command to make it better. Instead, use a surgical revision prompt. Tell the system to identify and rewrite only the single weakest sentence and exactly why it made the change. Applying that adversarial stress test and demanding surgical revisions turns a flimsy first draft into a highly defensible, finalized strategic asset. Let's look at the final output of our $200,000 software pitch. The density and logical flow of this document look nothing like the bulleted lists people assume they're stuck with. Because we built this using a strict structure, this exact 5-step sequence can be saved and reused endlessly. You just swap out the raw data in the XML tags and redefine your audience variables for the next project. Utilizing this master pipeline allows you to produce executive-ready documents that withstand technical scrutiny and require minimal manual editing.